Rahim. This short video is about the steps to demonstrate clinical pelvimetry. Okay, so first of all, in the talks, when the station of the clinical pelvimetry come or any sort of OSCE exam, when this station comes, then first of all you have to tell the examiner that I will do my introduction to the patient. Okay, that step is very important in exam. Okay, so introduction is like this. I will introduce myself to the patient and take her introduction as well. I will explain the whole procedure and its importance. I will ask my patient to lie comfortably in supine position with the leg flexed at hip and knee joint. Okay, now comes the examination of the transverse perineal muscle. So I will tell that after taking all the aseptic precautions, I will introduce my two fingers in the vagina with the palm of the hand facing downward and will palpate the transverse perineal muscles with the finger inside the vagina and thumb outside the perineum. Okay, so in this way, the transverse perineal muscles are assessed for the density and elasticity. Next come the coccyx. Now I will assess the mobility of the sacrococcygeal joint, which is determined by pressing firmly on the coccyx with the tip of finger. Normally the coccyx is mobile. Next comes sacrum and sacral promontory. Okay, so now I will palpate the sacrum by pressing the finger first from below upward and then from side to side in order to judge the curve, shape and length of the sacrum. Normally sacrum is well curved, that is concave from side to side, and convex and flat and straight sacrum indicates reduction in AP diameter of pelvic cavity. Now come the sacral promontory and diagonal conjugate. Okay, so after examination of the sacrum, I will introduce my fingers deep into vagina along the sacrum and try to palpate the sacral promontory. At this point, either diagonal conjugate can be measured or we can simply note that the sacral promontory was reached easily with difficulty not at all. So what happens normally? Normally the sacral promontory cannot be felt. Failure to reach the sacral promontory indicates that diagonal conjugate is at least 12.5 centimeter and the pelvic inlet is adequate. Now, another important clinical pearl is that diagonal conjugate cannot be and should not be measured if the head is engaged. Next come the pelvic brim and retropubic space. So after this, I will try to trace the pelvic brim using the tip of finger and middle fingers. Pelvic brim can only be traced if head is high floating, and note whether the pelvic brim is rounded or angulated. Angulated pelvic brim causes the fingers to dip in the V-shaped depression behind the symphysis pubis. And normally one cannot feel less than half of the pelvic brim in one sweep of the hand. If you can introduce more than half of the pelvic brim in one sweep of the hand, then this indicates that the inlet is narrow. Now I will pass the fingers downward from the brim along the pelvic side walls to determine that the side wall are straight, convergent and divergent, and I will start from the pelvic brim down to the ischial spine. Next come the ischial spine. Then I will palpate the ischial spine. They can be located by following the sacrospinous ligament to their lateral end. I will note whether these ischial spine are blunt, that is difficult to identify, prominent, that is easy to feel but not large, very prominent, that is large, and protruding in the mid cavity plane. Next come the sacrosciatic notch. Now I will evaluate the sacrosciatic notch. If it accommodates more than two fingers, it is considered to be adequate. Another way to evaluate the sacrosciatic notch is to ascertain whether it is narrow and deep or wide and shallow. Next come interspinous distance. After this, I will assess interspinous distance by attempting to touch both ischial spines simultaneously by index and middle fingers. Normally, both the ischial spine cannot be palpated simultaneously, even when the index and middle fingers are stretched at their maximum. And if both spines can be palpated simultaneously, it indicates that interspinous diameter is less than 9 centimeter. Now come to the retropubic space. Okay, I will say that then I will put my fingers with the palm of the hand facing upward behind the pubic symphysis and move laterally to both sides to assess retropubic space. Normally the area is flat. Then I will try to assess the subpubic angle. Okay, I will say that then I will turn my fingers so that the palm of the hand is facing downward, and again place the 3 fingers in the subpubic space to measure subpubic angle. Normally it admits 3 fingers, which indicates that the angle is between 85 to 90 degrees. In the end, I will assess the space between the ischial tuberosities. Okay, so finally I will withdraw my hands from vagina and make a fist and try to fit it between the patient's ischial tuberosities. What happens? Normally a closed fist can just be accommodated between the 2 ischial tuberosities. If the 4 knuckles of the closed fist cannot fit between the 2 ischial tuberosities, there is possibility of an outlet contracture. So that was just a brief video about the